Hey there. Okay, this is my third try at getting this Facebook Live going. The first was I clicked record and someone knocked on the door. The person knocked on the door, housekeeping knocked on the door to clean the room that I'm in. And then I did it again and something else went awry. And so here I am. uh, this is Lisane Basquiat. I'm the founder of Shaping Freedom. And I finally decided to hop on because I wanted to just share a couple of words about uncertainty and to kind of check in with all of you, to be honest. I wanted to, first of all, let you all know let you all know what you already do know, which is that you're going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. We are going to be okay. Um, I am in Hawaii and have been for a week, about a week now. Actually, yeah, a week. And I come here twice a year to the Big Island to a spiritual retreat that takes place here twice a year for a couple of weeks. It is a really important part of my life because I am so freaking busy in my normal, everyday thing that I really do know that in order for me to do the things that I do and to be the person that I need to be in order to live my purpose, that I really do need to give myself some time to reflect and to connect into my spirituality. So I'm actually in Hawaii right now. I'm actually going to show you guys where I am. So this is my view over my laptop, and I'm in Hawaii, which is fantastic. And so this week has been interesting. Interesting is the word I'll use. Really super interesting. We had, I think, the time changed last week. We had a full moon. Mercury left retrograde. Today is the Friday the 13th. And the very obvious thing that's going on is this coronavirus and what it is doing to our expectations for our world. The ways that things have shifted in such a short period of time. I am a person who typically can kind of just deal with things, and I try not to take things too, I try to stay focused so that I'm not panicking. And it has been challenging to really watch these things that are happening, especially when I am here in Hawaii, as I had planned to be, and my closest family lives in 4 different states on the mainland. So, in California, my son is in Vegas, my daughter and granddaughter are in New Jersey, my grandson actually is in Maryland, and a lot of my family is also in New York. And so experiencing this and the information that has gone around this week and things that are closing. I mean, the freaking NBA, stopped their season. Disneyland, geez, I heard that Tom Hanks has the coronavirus. It has been really, could shake anybody with the strongest foundation. This situation would shake anyone. And so my plan had been to, my daughter, bye-bye. My daughter was, that was housekeeping. Anyway, sorry about that. My plan had been, a week and a half ago, my plan was that my daughter Jessica was going to come here to Hawaii, to Huna, and she was going to hang out with me for a couple of weeks here. And we were going to have an opportunity to spend some one-on-one mother-daughter time together while we both attended this workshop. And that was the plan, and I was super excited to do that because she's in, on the other side of the country. I go back and forth quite a bit. She goes back and forth quite a bit, but we don't really have a lot of time to spend with each other. And so that had been the plan. And then this all happened. And so what I wanted to talk about, because I've been thinking about, what my plan was relative to what actually happened and what that means for what I need to do and how I need to shift because of that. I wanted to talk today about what you do when things don't quite work out the way you plan for them to work out. I think this is really important because so much of the anxiety that people are feeling, they're feeling because they're in a state of not really knowing what's going on. And I don't think any of us, we really don't. We're just watching the news articles, we're watching the headlines, we're reading things. Some of us, I hope not a lot of us, are like sitting in front of CNN and news channels and just kind of watching the news over and over again. And it reiterates how uncertain things, how much uncertainty is really going on and how much we really don't know about what's happening. There are some things that we do know, obviously, and the CDC has, shared some information, but there are some things that we quite frankly just don't know. And so what I wanted to talk about today is what you do when things don't work out as planned, because I want to help with some of the anxiety that people are feeling and some of the fear and panic that's going on. I mean, there's no freaking toilet paper, in the aisles. There is no bread, no eggs. And I know that people are really very upset and very up in arms, understandably on one hand, and on the other hand, having this sense of panic and fear and anxiety is not helpful, and it's not, it's very uncomfortable. Physically, emotionally, and mentally, it's a very uncomfortable place to be. And so that's really the reason why I want to talk about this. And so there are a couple of things that I think that we can do when we're in the state. One is, so this happened about 20 years ago. I had gone on vacation with my now ex-husband, and we were sitting on a bus during a field trip that we were on. And we had gotten one of those things that you get where you can go to a resort and take a tour of the resort with the intention of them getting you to buy a timeshare or something. And so the different options that they had, or prizes or rewards for doing that, were a car, like a $50 gift certificate to something, and a vacation. And my now ex-husband and I were sitting on this bus, and we started to talk about what we would do if we were to win this car. And he had one plan, and I had another. And we wound up getting into the biggest argument. It was ridiculous, about what we were each going to do with this car should we win it. That wasn't even something that was real, because there was no car. It was just the potential of winning this car. And so the first thing that you can do when you are, one of the first things that I think is really important is to really get into reality. Being in reality has a way of quelling even the scariest of things. And the reality of what's going on right now is that there are a couple of things that we've been told we can do to help to minimize and mitigate the chances of us contracting this thing. And there are ways to deal with it in the event that we do have an issue with it or get it. And that is the reality. And so much of the anxiety that we can feel sometimes and actually act through is really just fear about what could possibly happen versus dealing with actually what is happening. So I encourage you to really look at what is happening for you. And what that could be is schools are closing. or things are shutting down, and so there has to be a shift in some plans that you make. Or, a lot of us are in a situation where we can't leave the place that we're at. We're quarantined. Those are the things that actually you can actually do something about. And so I encourage you to get into the reality of what's going on and try really hard to focus there versus focusing on the fear of what could possibly be. Like I said, me and my ex-husband had that ridiculous fight, and it was over something that wasn't even real. And I can tell you, I could probably bring up 5 or 6 other examples of having done that in my lifetime. It's just not the best use of our time. So number 1 is to stay in reality. Number 2 is a little heavier, and that is that I had a few years ago, I had a situation where I found out that something wasn't going the way that I wanted it to go. And something it was like a big surprise that I really was not prepared for, nor did I agree with it at the time. And because of that, I wound up having an argument with a friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine. And it was a pretty big argument. And it really was all around me not wanting to accept something that really was the truth. I was very resistant to it. And as a result of that, my friend and I wound up not speaking for a while at all. We completely lost contact with each other for a bit. And what I learned from that was the importance of accepting things for the way they are and not for how I want them to be, And so in this situation, I think that we can spend time really being upset about what's going on and spending a lot of energy and time on being upset about not having toilet paper on the shelves, or being upset about, some plans of ours that might have shifted. Or we can spend time accepting what is actually going on and focusing on what we can do to move things or change things or modify them into the way that we want them to be. And so I think it's really important to not resist things and to live in the reality of how things actually are versus how we want them to be. And then the third thing, which is something that I actually have done myself, is to find the value in what it is that actually is. And that can be really challenging when your plan is to spend, a couple of weeks with your daughter because you haven't seen her, or if your plan was to travel someplace, or to, I don't know, go to an event that's taking place, or there were things that you were planning to do while you expected your children to be in school. There's always a way for us to look at things differently and to find a way to find some value in those things. And so what I've done, just as an example, is, I was disappointed, and I spent a couple of hours being a little sad that I wasn't going to spend some time with my daughter, that I'm all the way here in Hawaii. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, I'm having a fantastic time, and really spending time with my spiritual community. And the truth of the matter is that my family is thousands of miles away. And, what do I do? Do I, go back home? Do I stay? Do I just wait and kind of see what's going on and see, and then make a decision later? I needed to find a way to make some sense out of this for myself and to figure out what it was that I was actually going to do during this time. And so what I wound up doing is looking at the fact that, okay, now I'm actually going to have some time. I have some work and things that I need to do. I'm in the middle of writing, and so I have a lot more time for writing. And part of the reason that I came here was to both practice Huna and also to sink into my own spirituality and my own time, and to take some naps and to recharge a little bit or a lot. And so what I've chosen to do is to not spend or waste the time that I am here, but to use this time and to leverage it and to value it and honor the fact that it is still a couple of weeks out of my life. And I would much rather spend that time enjoying myself and looking for ways to make the best of it than to spend 2 weeks panicking, which would put me probably in a much more fatigued place than I was even getting here. So, three things that you can do to help you with in this time. The first is get into reality. The reality is that this is really what is going on, and in some ways, it just freaking sucks. Like, who the heck wants this stupid shit going on, you know? And that is the reality. And so, find ways to operate within that reality versus um, uh, not dealing with it and spending a lot of time denying the reality of it. The second thing is to see things for what they are and not for what you want them to be. And that's true of, this situation that, we're in right now, that the world is in, not just our country. And it's also true of relationships and jobs and any circumstances that you're in. We can begin to make change when we're clear about what's really going on and when we can live in truth. And so accept the truth of what it is that's going on and and versus how we want it to be. And so when we do that, we can find some solace in that. And then the third thing is to find the value and reframe it. For me, I fully expected to be hanging with my daughter. That's not happening. And so I am choosing to find the value in my time here anyway, and looking at ways to operate and shift my plans based on what's really going on in the world. And so that for me is a couple of different things. There are some things I plan to do in person that I'm now going to have to do, virtually. There are some other things that I plan to do that I straight up cannot do. And that's true for all of us. So those are the couple of things I'm in this, just like all of us, and have no idea where this is going or what's going to happen. And yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of stress about it, to be honest, because who the heck wants this going on? I have children, I have family, and, we're all just staying in contact with each other and doing the best that we can, just as, all of us are in this world, global family that we're in. So I guess the real bottom line is that we're going to be okay. That I do know. Not sure how, none of us knows how this is actually going to play itself out. And so much of this is outside of our control. But what I will say is that we are going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And, do your best to remember that. Okay. So that's all I have to say. Take care.